presentations, a short presentation introduction, one from India here with Deepak and Steve, and then one by Edo from Mongolia. So we'll have them to present what their business dynamic is and what are they looking for. But before that, I'd like to welcome some of our partners who have made time and also made efforts to make this a success for us. So I'd like to welcome Don. Don, join us on stage and introduce yourself and what Mirandi has been doing amazing work and what is your inspiration with International Investors Forum? Yeah, okay. Is it on? Then we can use it. Good about. Okay. Okay. Kira ni kelala. Ada?
So, if you don't mind, yeah, so you run me through, so...
about what, yeah, promote, share with us about Mirandi.
Okay, sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Don Hing, founder and managing director of Mirandi Global Consulting. So, we are a management and investments advisory consultancy. So, there are two main parts, two main focus of our services offering. Number one, management consulting, where we focus on IT consulting, leadership development and executive coaching. Thirdly, will be investments advisory. This actually came about in a way that our partners and our clients' requirements are pushing in daily. So, needless to say, my background, I'm actually an environmental engineer trained. And some of the projects that we have developed and constructed is actually hotels. So naturally, how I actually cross path into the finance sector is actually through the M&A of hotels. With my ex-chairman, we have acquired 9 hotels, and now it forms part of the Escorts Trust REITs portfolio. So from then on, I started the journey of accumulating the network of potential investors, international bankers, as well as inquiring on entrepreneurs' needs when it comes to fundraising. So I have myself across the world, in total about 60 consultants with us, experts consultants I would say, because from our end, when it comes to the governance, we have a very small team, myself, my COO, as well as 2 accounts manager who is facilitating us when it comes to the administrative, as well as sending out outreach emails and weekly regular updates to our investors. So this is all about us. Then when it comes to the final arm, sustainability advisory, this is where the impact investments come to the picture. Yeah. So we are very honored to be here with Dr. Aziza, as well as Go Global Accelerator, and very meaningful to be able to be part of this IIF 2025. And yeah, I wish everyone a very good day. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Don. Don has been giving and giving and giving, and just been so passionately serving the space with us. So thank you very much. Dr. Sheen, welcome. Dr. Sheen, come on stage. Introduce yourself.
Hello. Sorry, my voice is not clear.
Still not back yet.
Yes, sorry about it. This is Dr. Sheen. I hold a PhD degree for machine learning, but I'm in the variety of industries: healthcare, retail, F&B, and investment bank, and some other consulting as well. So now I'm here for the CFO of the Dadaka Holdings. We operated we have many brands for the F&B and the chocolate, related to chocolate. We have halal chocolate, we have halal bakery, and Japanese bakery as well. We are now trying to expand our business to overseas. We do have now business in Japan, Singapore, now starting China, and Brunei, and the USA, and South Korea. Now we are looking for that opportunity, especially the ASEAN, India, or course Middle East. So we are looking for that the collaboration with many partners to distribute our products and make our business growth together. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And if you sit down and talk to him, I had many of our partners sit down and speak to him. And every time they communicate with me, it's like, did you know he do that? Did you know he do this? This is like an amazing human being who has done some wonderful work. And I understand he is also working with a group of investors from Japan who are venturing out of Japan into Asia and globally, especially for energy projects. Especially what? Biomass, right? Renewable energy projects. So he has been supporting, and some of the projects is brought into, like Dadaka has been working with Japanese businesses going global, and that's how he's holding the forte for them. All right, so thank you so much. Is Jasper in the room? No. Okay. Olin, come in. Introduce Strategic Creative Consultancy. Daniel couldn't join us, and Daniel's also one of our shareholders and person in charge. So just before that, I want to say thank you to Daniel, who is now setting the space for Shine Go Global's licensing our memberships. For those of you who know, we have a membership is now getting licensed for 10 different cities to take on our project so that our members will be handled by our licensees. So thanks to Daniel Ho, who can't be here, but his partner is here. I'll introduce Strategic Creative Consulting.
Thank you, Dr. Aziza. Yes, I'm Orlan. I'm Project Manager and a Creative Director for Strategic Creative Consulting. As Dr. Aziza said, Daniel is a partner for Go Global, so I'm representing him now. And what we do is basically we help companies expand locally and globally. I think most of us are doing that right now. So yeah, so either from Singapore outside or outside of Singapore going in Singapore. Not just in Singapore but across Asia, Asia Pacific, including US, Australia, and Canada. So, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you so much. And one of the areas that Daniel and Strategic Creative Consulting specializes in is M&A. So they do quite a bit of stuff, and I'll connect you with Peter and Daniel so that they can get into a call on that as well. And then we have Dominic from Malaysia who's joined us. Dominic, come on. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aziza. Good morning, everyone. I wasn't prepared for this, but just to share a little bit about myself, I used to teach. I have a passion to teach, and that was like almost 20 years ago. So currently, I'm the CEO of my own company in business development, and I work like a very different type of fund manager. We don't invest in equity. My clients will buy land, and we give them ideas on what to do with it. I'm an exit strategist, so I help them to come up with concept and to create a product to sell it in 3 to 5 years down the road, either in merger and acquisition, equity, or stratified units to be sold in the public. Then I find that I want to create something more meaningful, because building structures is like so boring, and we don't learn, and we don't help people around us. So I learned this from Lee Kuan Yew, that we should focus more on software instead of continuously building hardware. So I spent a lot of time going around, taking time off from work. So I spent a month in the UK last year, and I spent 2 weeks in Japan, 2 weeks in Vietnam, and I gathered a lot of things, I learned a lot, and I was invited to be in Sabah, and we met up with finally after a year, we met up with our funder, and I think I will be able to make this dream come true. We are going to build a university in Sabah, a British university. It's along the pipeline. This is one of my goals now, to bring good education into the country. Yeah. And last week, 2 weeks back, before I flew into Singapore, I was invited to meet up with a key person in Penang. I don't know how much you know about Penang, Penang is a Silicon Valley of the East, is a very large area of semiconductors, and also for very famous for biotechnology companies. We're talking about big corporations like Intel, AMD, Micron, Abbott, B. Brown. They are constantly expanding. And I was also given a mandate. They said, hey Dom, instead of you building the university in Sabah, why don't you build one in Penang? I did tell them that it's along our pipeline, but I think now I've been given the challenge to do that. This is also my goal to bring a second university into Penang. We are focusing on STEM programs. The mandate is we need to come up with 60,000 engineers by 2030 for the industry in Penang. And there's no way we can achieve that because even if we employ smart people from elsewhere, we will never be able to fulfill this number. So I was given the mandate to find the right university to set up so that we can create the right people for the industry within. Yeah. So before I end this sharing, I always believe in this pyramid. How I came up with this passion. On the top tier, we have parents who can afford to send their children overseas. They can pay for the fees and then they can also afford to pay for the cost of living. Now when you come down to the second tier, a bigger tier, parents can afford to send their children overseas to pay for their school fees, but they can't afford to pay for the cost of living because it's too expensive. And the students will have to end up studying part-time and it affects their studies. And of course, when you come to the third tier, the largest tier, which I have passion to make this happen for them, parents who cannot afford both. They can't afford for the fees, they also cannot afford for the cost of living. And it's a shame because if you look at the children within this pyramid system, their knowledge, their readiness, their experience, and their gift is not correlated to the financial status of the parents. Hence, we want to create an atmosphere for them where they are given a chance to get good quality education, certificate, and high-paid jobs. So our mission is to create these universities in Malaysia because the cost of living is so much lower, and we will be able to fulfill this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. How many of you are inspired about education here? So you know we have been meeting up so many times in the last 1 month. Dominic, Singapore, Malaysia. We've been, really getting. That's how. Do you all agree that when communication gets consistent, there's a magic that happens? Do you all get it? When the more we communicate, the more we are able to interact and share, and that's how we can make things happen. And thank you so much, Dominic, for constantly being at it. And Sabah is on our vibes, it's on our roadmap. And thank you, Ms. Gularma has joined us right now, and I want you to just relax a little bit. And we have people on the Zoom room as well. We have Queen Ayla. It's very timely. Queen Ayla, I'd love to have you introduce. Queen Ayla is from Indonesia. She's our founder of the World Women Leading Change. One of the reasons how Victoria and I met in her event when we were speaking at the Women Investment event in Dubai 2 years ago. Right, thank you so much, Queen Ayla, for joining us. Can you unmute? Yeah, you want to speak?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Aziza and Victoria, and Go Global, Maya Pada. Thank you for being a great woman that's trying to create impact to the world. My name is Ayla Al-Jufri. I came from a very ancient kingdom from Indonesia. It's called Nagara Mataram Dynasty. And I'm very, very happy to see you all, even though I can only join you on the Zoom. My apologies that I was actually planned to fly you to Singapore and meet you all in person, but because of some motherhood, so I could not be there. But yeah, I'm very proud of all of you in doing impactful, high conscious business. The world is changing and the earth going to phase 5. Phase 5, it is a very spiritual earth. So we need to be high conscious. And I am actually in real estate. I found a company called IIF Associates. We are in real estate. We have also asset management company. It's called Hujan. And we founded World Women Leading Change, Women Empowerment Global. And of course, we are part of Go Global Community. Live from Jakarta, Indonesia.
Thank you so much, Queen Ayla. Really appreciate your time to be with us. I know.
If I can add one more thing.
Yes, please.
Yes, we are behind you. We are behind you. We are Federation of the Monarch Consortium. Yes, we have Indonesia Monarch and also Gulf Monarch. So we are behind you. Go and shine.
Thank you. Global Invest and Shine Go Global. Yeah, let's do it together. Thank you so much, Queen Ayla. Appreciate your time. Yes. Okay. Just need to unpin her. Maybe you can help me.
Yeah, unpinned. It's all good.
Oh yeah, but on my side, I need to remove. Okay, got it. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
You good? Okay. So I'm gonna invite Ms. Bularma, and we had this was like really unique opportunity that we could have her join us. If you all have gone through her profile, if you've gone through the website, you'll get to see that she's such an amazing. Actually, I've done quite a bit of introduction of you before you came, but we're going to repeat that again for everybody to take a look at it. Remember, we say opening the heart, opening the mind, and opening the will. Really, it's about us not just becoming inspired or excited and say, hey, this is good, but how are we getting into action? In this second, the final part of our conversation, it became really apt that we could get Ms. Bularma to join us, because she is going to be speaking about the driving the resilient growth in the emerging markets, especially when it comes to legacy-driven investment strategies. She is the nominee director of one of the leading banks, and also her own organization, which is really inspiring for everybody to know. Let me just quickly pull that up. A little bit of introduction. Okay. Kite, yeah, I know that. This is a couple of the names that I wanted to really make sure that I have it right with me. Yes. So her full name is Bularma Luzans-Dorf. Am I right to pronounce it like that? Yes. Mongolia. She is actually an IFC nominee director of TBZ Uzbekistan, a leading bank in Uzbekistan, and founder of Kite Mongolia LLC. And this amazing woman actually has played a very integral role shaping the bank's strategic direction and governance, and with more than 25 years experience in finance and banking. We understand that she used to be with the World Bank as well, and her career spans in various regions, including Japan and United States. And currently, as the founder of Kite Mongolia, is a pioneer in venture building and investment company dedicated to supporting social innovation, creative industries, and the development of Mongolia's startup ecosystem. How can we not be so honored and privileged and blessed to have her with us at this time of the year? Thank you so much, Ms. Bularma. Welcome to the stage.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me quickly introduce myself. I'm a banker. Very boring. Since my graduation as a banker at Mongolian University, I've done 39 years of investment banking, of commercial banking, and everything else, right? In between Development Bank of Mongolia as well. So When I actually was working for Deutsche Bank, I worked for Deutsche Bank close to 9 years in Tokyo and New York. And I kind of had this feeling like I'm missing out of life, right? So, and in 2000, I found this tiny book called Venture Fund, yeah, in 2000. And that's what I thought, oh, this is Mongolia, what needs venture fund. And since then, I'm like an Alice in Wonderland. Went into the hole and coming up and going down, coming up and going down, just to make sure that this thing, the whole thing actually happens, right? So today's discussion was about conscious capital, right? And I'm thinking, what is a conscious capital? What does it mean, right? So when I was pursuing my dream of creating a venture fund, I stumbled upon Impact Fund in 2010. I attended a conference call for Asian Venture Philanthropy Network that actually spurred into European philanthropy network and etc. At that time, impact was a new word. So by impact, what do we mean by impact, right? So exactly what do we mean? Is it about jobs? Is it about something else? And then you'll see a lot of institutional investors, and they'll be not actually taken by your ideas. They'll be like, well, we have to measure it, right? We have to make sure that impact is actually trickling down. So today, when Aziza sent me about conscious capital, I was like any woman, because I'm so responsible. I felt a shock. Oh my goodness, I have nothing to say about conscious capital, right? And then I discovered that it was created 11 years ago by the CEO and founder of Whole Market, right? So obviously we can use so many different words, and the newest one is actually new capitalism, right? And so now Japan developed its strategy for new capitalism, and obviously when Prime Minister says that is our strategy, that's where most of the time corporate money goes, right? So everywhere, I'm sure that in the audience, we are all entrepreneurs looking to raise money for your social enterprises, to make change in the lives and livelihoods of people you love, make change into environment and etc. But it's not so easy to get the money. And apologies for coming a bit like rushing, because I have a parallel meeting with IFC where I sit as a nominee director for Uzbekistan. And people are, where is Uzbekistan? And so 10 years ago, we used to have, 10, 15 years ago, we used to have the same question about Mongolia. What is Mongolia? Is it part of China? Is it part of Russia, right? So I think Uzbekistan, like with the rest of the, Central Asia, is awakening up, and I obviously want to talk more about Central Asia in my speech, right? So going back to conscious capital, obviously it has 4 pillars, having a willingness to do a very good business. If you have a good business, then you have your customers. If you have your customers, then you have a capital, right? So it's as simple as that. And then, of course, you have to have a leadership who is leading that conscious capital, saying, well, this is what we want, right? That is exactly what we aim to do with our organization, and that's how we are going to change the world. But because of that, our profits will be more sustainable and wonderful, right? And then, of course, you have to have a thought leadership. You just don't want to repeat anything that has been said or done, and etc. You want to improve upon it, right? So if we are talking about impact finance, how we can do it differently, and how we look into different models so that our model actually works much, much better. And of course, you have to have a culture of compassion, of being true to what you promise, right? So that's what I think is in a very simple term. So whether it's called impact financing, sustainable financing, or new capitalism, we are talking about now we have a population in the world which we never had before, right? Like, I don't know how tremendously the population grew on Earth. Elon Musk talking about going to Mars. What are the reasons of going to Mars? Except that solving some of the issues or overpopulation, and hence with the population, food security, environment, many other things. So I'm predicting actually that consumption will reduce. To be honest, I see the new generations that my son, I can't, like, each time I meet him, oh, can't you go to some shop and buy new jeans? And it's like, no, because that is not environmentally good, right? So younger generation wants to recycle, younger generation wants to spend less, younger generation wants to extend the life of what they consume, right? And that is completely different from where our youth was. Our youth was crazy capitalism, you know, like 80s when we were having all the discos, but also discos at the investment banks as well, right? So I went through the financial crisis in 2008, 2009, covering North American banks, broker-dealers, and my first sort of like awakening came in 2007 when I was making a presentation for our credit officers in Mumbai. And at that time, Countrywide actually drew its own commitment line. And that's how it started, right? So I think since all these things happening, I think people are much more conscious with financial crisis. And now, together with the climate change, with all the climate disasters, and then of course added to the complexity, now we have geopolitical tensions, right? A few years ago, I was listening together with my fellows from former Deutsche Bank team on the lecture from Ian, I'm forgetting his name right now, but he wrote a wonderful historic books on economy, like Ascendance of Money and etc. So what he said is, forget about war in Russia. That was 2019, right, 20. Forget about China tension with China, USA. What is brewing in Middle Eastern countries is going to be exactly the same what's happened in the Iraq war and etc. At that time, we didn't like, you know, everything seemed so nice and wonderful over there. What's happening over there? And then now you have this all tensions coming up, and how we do survive, and how we actually continue to do a conscious capital, where there's so much risk around us, right? So I think that's where resilience comes, you know, resilience. And yesterday I was listening to a founder of Money Hero. They IPO'd, I think in New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ, and he said, resilience, you need to talk on the board about, with your management about resilience. And usually the word resilience comes like, okay, crisis happens, what we do, how we react, right? But his term of resilience is completely different. How to predict the trends or what's happening in the future, and how to be prepared for that, right? So if we take the word resilience onto opposite side and try to foresee what's happening in the world, then I think you are going to be exactly what you tend to accomplish, right? Having a sustainable business, making your impact along the way, and etc. So I don't think in this world now you can talk about any investment without talking ESG, without talking about the environment, without talking about your impact. So hence, now it's a must. Whether you're a big corporation, that's, you know, regulatory obligated to do well, and not just do well, but not to greenwash, not to gender wash, not to many different washes, right? So that is already done, and big boys are starting to be penalized for all these things. But what about the smaller ones, right? What about the small entrepreneurs, startups, SMEs, and etc.? So this has become very, very important for these organizations, because if you want to survive, in this new world, you have to be prepared along this supply chain. Let's say if you are a farm grower in Thailand or Vietnam or elsewhere, make sure that your practices actually conform to these things to be included in the chain of this, green development-driven economy. Otherwise, you won't be able to survive. Unless you do well practices, nobody is going to work with you. And now it's becoming more reality check, right? So we talk about doing well, doing good for so long, but when it comes to actions, we forget how it is important to make them into actions so you could be part of that incredible supply chain, right? So now it's no longer, well, this is a big boys talking. This is IFC or World Bank or whoever talking about it. It's about how you can be included in this new world, right? And as I mentioned, this is just my prediction. I think people will consume less, but they will consume good products, right? They want organic food, they want organic clothes, they want to make sure that the clothes last long, right? So I'm actually surprised that Japan came out with a new concept of new capitalism, because a lot of practices of Japanese SMEs, I'm not talking about big corporations, right? Japanese SMEs, stores on the block, you know, whoever you talk, restaurants, they are so conscious. They're conscious of environment, they're conscious of use of their resources. You know, they constantly recycle, and obviously the ultimate goal is to make the customer happy, right? So I lived in Tokyo for 5 years, and I was fascinated. I came first from US. I came from Mongolia, which is a completely like sort of like a nomadic culture. We do whatever we please to do, given that we are living in such a vast land, right? And then I go to US, and that's again another sort of like a self-driven economy, individualistic. And then you go to Japan, and first I was baffled by all these rules and regulations. You go to shop, and they want you to first take your food instead of taking your water. And oh, I can't believe, will I survive, right? So in 5 years, I actually turned into Japanese because I started to understand why they're doing this, for whom they're doing it, and why I can just go any restaurant, any tiny shop in Japan and eat a wonderful meal. Because I'm sure they're practicing what they preach, right? So even for smaller entities and larger entities, it seems like Japan a bit backwards, right? Because they are not using that much technology as they could, you know. And the reason for that, they're also looking out for society. So for digital transformation, what is going to do that to our people? How we are going to ensure that people are still getting salaries, still can survive, still, you know, sustain their livelihood, right? So this, I think, is the core of conscious capitalism, right? Right now, what I see is, well, used to be a lot of years of gender, and now move away gender. It used to be a lot of years of SME drive, right? And I'm just coming from IIF meeting where they're saying, well, we can't deal, we admit we can't deal with SMEs, you know. But that is the problem, in my opinion, right? So we have a lot of, you know, big guys, let's put it that way, jumping onto wagon of green, disruptive technology. But nobody wants to talk what disruptive technology does for the 70, 80% of the population on Earth. Less job, less income, less a lot of issues, right? So I'm afraid that the new world for the younger people will be slightly difficult, you know. So we need to make sure that these young people are actually equipped with, you know, skills for future job. We need to make sure that now these practices of ESG are going to trickle down all the way to micro businesses. Unless you adopt them, you can't survive in this environment. And that is altogether is actually good for planet. It's good for people. If we continue to do that, I'm sure that the world will be better. You know, I'm glad that our disco years, Peter, we were in disco years. They're gone, right? They're gone, and there's much more impact. Before I would talk about impact, let's say 10 years ago, right? And most of the big boys like, okay, Baluma, we'll love you, what you're saying, but profit is more important, right? So I think now big boys actually come to us and they say, what do you have in your toolbox that we can utilize, right? Yeah. So that's what we are trying to do. Utilize, make sure, and suddenly all these socially conscious businesses become very popular now. Yeah. But because nobody practices, and that is my kind of like a message to you all, because you have to practice what you preach, right? If you say you are a sustainable business, what does it mean? If you're saying you are an organic or nature-based, you know, sort of like a farm or wherever, you know, tourist camp, what do you exactly mean, right? So I think those things needs to be adopted, and obviously there will be a lot of educational part on what does it mean, sort of like a question mark thing, and I'm very glad that Dr. Aziza is actually doing all these sessions and etc. So I think collectively, hopefully we can get into a new world where conscious capitalism is really practiced, and is really practiced. So obviously you want to hear about what are the tools are available for you guys, right? So now there is an increasing number of course, impact-driven foundations. The whole, you know, the whole thing actually changed. A few years back, I think 2016, I was asked to speak for a group of 600 CEOs in Mongolia. And I thought, like, what I'm going to talk to 600 CEOs, right? And then Every moment, metro. Because we are trying to push metro, and government will say, we are poor Boloma, we can't build metro, right? So then I said, like, well, if 600 CEOs agreed that metro is useful, obviously the government has to say yes, right? So then I started to look into metro, and then it qualifies for everything. Yeah, air pollution, you have a green finance, you can get lower impact, low interest rates because it's a green finance and all those things, right? So we need to actually talk about the different structures on how to raise money. So now every foundation in the past 10 years changed. In fact, the whole word impact was actually created by Rockefeller Foundation. They were giving out all the, and there are so many documentaries made about how donor money is getting wasted and how the community in Africa or elsewhere not benefiting from the donor money, and everybody is lose-lose, right? So they changed the whole thing, and now it's about impact investing, where you can actually have a return, have a sustainable businesses. And even larger corporations, even larger NGOs are now in a big predicament because everybody now looking for impact. So even fundraising for them is getting more difficult, right? So for small SMEs, obviously grant is pretty much no longer exists. I have to make sure, don't ask for grants. It's most likely will not happen. Right? But grant may come with sort of like as a kind of like a part of the blended finance. So the grant will be given for the enterprises, for the SMEs, for the ideas, for the concepts, for the funds, which actually say, oh, this is exactly what we are going to do, and together with the grant, give us your grant because we're bringing either government money or developing financial institutions money or corporations money, right? So if you get the biggest, the best, of course, to bring your private sector behind you, and then say, oh, all right, our products are being bought by this company, and they're helping us with, and then with that you can get, loan or equity investment or whatever, and then you can talk about grants and etc. So I think now people have to exclude the word grant from their vocabulary because I think it will be harder and harder to get a grant, right? Then of course you have all sorts of, but then there is another instrument which is coming, and for the past probably 8-7 years, and that is actually green bonds, social bonds, and all those kind of instruments, right? And even loans now can be structured in a way that as long as you provide your clients with some of the things, then you can get cheaper interest rates and etc. Currently, the bank I used to sit as on the board that did the 10 round for is getting a large financing from development institutions because they're structured in a way that 50% of that bond goes to blue economy. And so we have all this green economy, blue economy, and as we go through this process of kind of shifting to a better future, I think there will be new terms coming up, right? Definitely disruptive technologies are extremely good, and I'm not saying no. There are so many, particularly Singapore is right for that. You've got all these wonderful universities, and I was just talking to one professor from Nanyang University, and she's talking about new food, from native plants, new derivatives of things, right? So there are so many disruptive technologies that are wonderful, but also MSMEs and micro entities and all those people have to adopt them, right? Have to work along the entire chain to adopt all these disruptive technologies. And most of the time, disruptive technologies do come from universities. And that's where I think a lot of people miss out. How do you work with your technology universities? How do you work with your scientists? If you go to, I'm going to take a bad case of Mongolia because I don't want to offend anyone, but I'm pretty sure that it is happening in all these markets that we work, right? So scientists somewhere at the corner making all these wonderful scientific experiments and nobody cares, right? And then you have startups over there which are claiming to be very good, right? But because they don't have this deep tech that scientists created, those startups cannot survive. It's simply replication of some kind of old ideas that become successful in other much bigger markets. And so then you need people like us, let's say, We've done actually experimentation. We don't believe that Silicon Valley or acceleration of startups works for emerging country. And hence what we've done is that we kind of like experimented with support from the donor of creating linkages between the science and between startups, corporates, and etc. And that's where you can see a lot of value being created. And so I think when you go on your journey, I'm sure, you'll have a lot of advisors to advise you along the way, how it will work, and etc., etc. But key thing is, what are you doing, how you're doing it, whom you're doing it, and how it actually helping, people, environment, and and your company. So these things used to be pretty words, but it's now a necessity when you think about it. So with that, I'm really, hope you enjoyed this event, and I'm sure you are making a lot of network connections, and then if you have some questions, I would be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, I forgot to ask you to go up to the stage.
I'm so used in startup
Yeah,
community.
thank you so much, Ms. Bularma. We're going to be opening up for some questions, and I think, is there anyone with any questions, not only for Ms. Bularma, also for Peter and Dave Dorius on the call? You know what she's saying? Can somebody unmute, and you want to share what Dave Doria wrote in this?
Oh, I can say it.
Yes, please do.
I apologize. I'm writing a book and I couldn't stay away. I mean, for sure, I wanted to listen to Peter, and then after Peter, and great job, Peter, thank you. And then I thought, well, this looks like a really good program, and I have learned so much, because this is a whole, this is how it's taking shape now. And it's just really reaching some very deep markets. And people are good. People are good around the world. They're really good people. It's the exception that, you have people that are not good. And so we all want to create wealth and do good. And so I just really love it. I'm so glad that I'm in the background listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's getting very late for you, but thanks so much for being there. Yeah, so any questions you all have for any of these three powerful leaders of the world? Sometimes, even if you're working for someone or you're part of a consulting company that is, supporting SMEs and investors, these are very relevant information for everybody, and definitely for business owners who are looking at creating your own legacy and growth. And so I know there's many of you who are consultants and working with others. So maybe you have any questions that maybe your investor might have, or your business owner might have, or we can have any questions from the business leaders here. Anyone? Yes, Deepak. Come here.
Just a very general question from one business owner to others, and the leaders alike, right? So very simple, like at times of doubt, like in your mind, okay, you're going the right way, but maybe you have a small doubt. So like, what do you guys do to sort of overcome that? Have you successfully figured out, okay, this is what I need to do every single time, or is it like purely instinct, or whatever you have it? Like, how do you guys tackle that problem? Thank you.
You first.
I was shaking my head, and the reason for shaking my head is that it took me forever. Let's put it that way, right? I actually said that I'm like a dog who found a bone. So I'll bury it somewhere just to, whenever the opportunity arises, go and go back to my bone and take it out. Because I honestly believe that SMEs and micro businesses in this world need equity. More than loans or grants and everything, because once you have money that is actually patient and stays with you, then you can do it, right? So it would be almost a book if I wrote like 12 years of my journey, into trying to get the VC fund. And now we are invited into another program, And we're like fingers crossed saying like, all right, maybe third time is a lucky charm, right? So I think very early in my career, when I was at Deutsche Bank, you know, I met a very powerful lady at Citibank, and later she became a chief risk officer of Citibank, global chief risk officer. So she said, we were having a dinner, and then suddenly she asked me, Paloma, do you think you're patient? And I'm like, or impatient. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm always saying that I'm so impatient, right? So my first reaction would have been impatient, right? Extremely impatient, I have to say, right? And then I'm very entrepreneurial. Things need to move for me, right? And I can't sit still even, right? And then, but I went back home and I started to reflect on my life, and when she asked that question, and after 3 years I met her in New York, and I said, well, I know my answer to your question. And she said, what question? I said, were you impatient? I said, I'm very persistent, right? So I'm very persistent. I'm impatient, but I'm very persistent. And now I'm actually being commended for being very tenacious, you know. Tenacious is the word now describes me, you know. So you have to be tenacious if you're really setting a goal that everybody says is not going to happen, right? Many times, a lot of big boys will come to me, and then, and including actually international banks, you know, really, you know, ultra wealthy people in different countries, in Switzerland and others, they'll be like, Paloma, why are you doing this? You know, we could do like on the spot, hire you there, here, wherever, with package of millions and etc. And then those times you really doubt, am I actually in the right path? Am I actually doing something that is useful? When everybody rest of the world is saying don't do it, should I be thinking about myself and just retiring to happy, you know, sort of like a retirement or job or whatever, right? So I guess I can't, and that's one of the reasons why am I still like being tenacious and being called tenacious and etc. So I think for everyone, the consolation will be in what you achieve. You know, in Buddhism we say, you burn, you know, naked, you go naked, right? And another thing is in Buddhism you believe you are eternal. So that means, karma means people express it in different ways. My interpretation of karma is very simple. You reborn again and again. So karma means frequency of rebirth. How quickly you are going to be reborn as a human, and that depends what your life you live, right? Whether you were virtuous life. Who you reborn with, right? You want to be reborn with your loved ones. And that is all how, and then third one is, you know, you have to live life so that you can actually be human again, live the life you led, and etc. So if people understood that they're eternal and they're going to be reborn again and again into the same faith, then we'll do good. They'll know that, okay, I don't want to live in a life of suffering or, you know, the suffering can come from greed as well, from many other things, from ego, you know, many other things. So I think knowing that what you've accomplished and what impact you had in your lifetime can be the sweetest sort of like a, you know, things to have. And also console yourself, like, okay, you are tenacious because you believe that good things will happen if you know, continue on your path. So that would be my question. Yeah, a bit philosophical, sorry about that. Getting old.
I love this question because entrepreneurs are faced with doubt and uncertainty on a daily, sometimes hourly, right? Sometimes multiple times an hour. In some of the darkest moments that I've had as an entrepreneur, and I went through some really hard ones, was to go back to purpose and the North Star. What's guiding you to where you want to go, and then frame things short-term, mid-term, long-term. And putting perspective on those and the impact of those decisions when the dark times come also comes from a sense of trust and a sense of knowing and a sense of belief that you're working towards that North Star and that you're on your journey. And you know, in our world, there's no straight line. We would all love start out at point A. You know, Google Maps tells you follow this and you'll end up, it's just not reality. So those dark moments, I also think, are where leadership emerges. is where you get to see what am I made of. Where is the strength internally to call upon reaching out towards what's really important to you. And then I think there's another piece of it, which is to have some form, and I've studied this, about decision making. There's a whole science behind decision making. Entrepreneurs especially are prone towards using their intuition or their gut, right? Which I believe in. But what's the other side? And so decision making you can actually look into and look at the steps along making decision. And I think the biggest one in a dark moment is not to do it alone. And to have a group of trusted advisors that you know over time, not where you're in a crisis to then start to ask for help, but people who understand your mission, your purpose, your values, right? And the culture that you have within the community that you've created, and tap into them at those dark moments to bring in support, energy, resources, relationships to help get you back track on the North Star. And knowing that by itself, that you're not in it alone, I think entrepreneurs are prone to, I know I was when I was younger, I'll do it myself. I'll figure this stuff out. And it's a trap, it's a pitfall. So if you have your North Star, you have some form of a structure, or I'm gonna even call it a process for decision making, and then utilize community, it'll take you beyond wherever that sense of doubt is into a much higher, bigger opportunity set. Yeah, thanks.
Great question. Anyone else want to? Dave Dory, you have anything to add on? I'm not sure whether you're listening in. Okay. All right. So,
I am here.
yes, do you want to add on anything about making the question that was asked? Anything to add on?
Just what I was sharing a little bit earlier. One of the things that I just want to add to a couple of things that people said, particularly when the beautiful queen from Indonesia was talking, and which is it's a new world. And I think that it is the nature of the mind not to adopt, to change. My experience in training people for 45 years is that we are not comfortable with change. Some people are, but it's a minority. Most of us don't. Change brings up fears and uncertainty, and it kind of like throws us off. And there were 4 global paradigm shifts that have occurred in the last 4.5 years. And prior to that was 9/11 in 2001. Prior to that was the oil crisis in 1972. And prior to that was World War II. That's how rare global paradigm shifts occur. And we have had 4 in 4 years, 4.5 years. And so everyone is adapting. And we all have to really be very much in our own center and be much more vigilant and open to reading and even things that we may not agree with and things that we are uncomfortable with, which we all can be. And then from there, really look at the decisions that you're going to make on how you're going to grow your company, how you're going to attract investors, how you're going to be the best at what you do. Because that's the other aspect of not having competition. I know that we live in a world that's based on competition, but when you are the best, when people rave about you, and that reminds me, one of the best business books I ever read was Good, Great. That's a 25-year-old book by Jim Collins. Good to Great. That is one of the best books ever, business books. And in there, you know, it talks about not only leadership, economic engine, that was where I first heard that word, economic engine. But as a leader, you have to be able, he calls it a class 4 leader. You have to be able to hold simultaneously, completely opposing thoughts. A good leader, and of all the leaders and all the presidents that I have met and prime ministers, I always get into a conversation with them about that because they have to be able to hold completely opposing points of views and thoughts. And that also has to happen in our own businesses, even if we are small business owners. But everyone starts small, and then you're going to get bigger and bigger, and soon you'll be a huge conglomerate. And Jenny Tay of the IIF class taught me that. That Tomasna taught me that. I mean, these are women that have created new industries right there in Singapore, Malaysia. And so, if you can just get and give yourself, take 3 deep breaths and give yourself a lot of credit and understand that the world has changed radically, particularly since COVID. And so now adapt, and also patience, but also innovation and looking at the world with brand new eyes and listening with brand new ears. And everything that was shared today was just wonderful. I learned quite a bit. Thank you,
Thank you, dearest Dave. And I know that for a fact that if we are not in that space, we will become obsolete really soon. And that's unfortunate for those businesses that has already gone into that space. So is there any more questions? We're actually asking questions. I'd like to welcome Mr. Cao, the director with Vietnam Trade Council Office, Trade Office of Vietnam. So thank you, Mr. Cao, for joining us. Let's give him a hand. He wrote to me yesterday. He said, I'm always happy to support you. So thanks for joining us. And Vietnam is one of our very favorite places that we opened up this year. We have our shareholder, Ms. Anna Ngo. Later, maybe you can do some sharing as well about the market in Vietnam and our intention of bringing Vietnam to the world and world to Vietnam. And I'm going to be later also while we introduce. Anyone else have any questions? Any more questions? I see that you could. I feel like you want to ask questions.
Maybe I can ask.
Yeah, come here. Yes, come. Because you're on camera. There's a YouTube running.
I often have these intrusive thoughts. So one of it came up is like, so I work with some management teams where sometimes they use certain things for branding and labels. Certain businesses, like the big boys, right? They will use even things like, our product is going to stop and poverty and human trafficking. So things like that. So I was wondering, how can genuine, SMEs and businesses who genuinely care and not just use labels and just marketing branding, how can we have some measurements, KPIs? How can we differentiate ourselves to really show that to the consumers, to our clients and partners, that we are really having our heart in it, and not just even if I go shopping and then they will say, do you want to put like a $2 tips to some cause, and you are not really sure if that's really going there or it's just for PR purposes. So I would just like to throw it out there, like how do you think, do we need certain KPIs, do we depend on ISOs, and how many people are actually aware and educated about ISOs, right? So open-ended question.
I'll take a crack at answering that first. I think the world is kind of calling out those fakers. right, who make claims that they can't support. And a lot of the marketing efforts that even the big boys have made are not supportable. So I think it starts with the truth. It's really fundamental thinking, right? Transparency. And then I think there are ways that SMEs can demonstrate their commitment to SMEs, but it has to be in some way tangible. And I think it's also from SME all the way up to the top. You know, ESG is misunderstood. If you even look at BlackRock has now retreated from because it conflicts with profit. And so a component that I'm really looking for and advising is to have almost a committee or a team that has an understanding of the business and the social responsibility aspect, and put together a plan that has their mission, right, that truth, and the transparency comes in some way to demonstrate. I'm with you, I don't want to give money over to, and I often do, give money wondering, where has it gone? What are they doing with it? And we'll never quite know. So I'm a big believer that you can have all of that together, but the transparency comes in some form of a measure. And you know, Peter Drucker is one of the greatest management consultants ever in the world. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And it's a mandate that I live by, and I think it applies to ESG components just as much as anything. You can, just marketing has a science, it has an art, and there is ability to measure. So some way of being able to translate mission into a demonstrable outcome that's measurable would be my advice.
Maybe I can add a few points. So every company is different, and your measurement have to reflect that, right? So the first advice is never to have too many KPIs, too many measurements that you can't measure, right? So key is always the selection, which KPIs you, or which measurements you want to select. Who you are impacting, how you are impacting, and how you are measuring it is very important. So the more you add to that, the harder it is to track, and the harder it is to earn the trust of the people, and etc. So keeping it simple is always helps, right? Then, of course, you know, ESG criteria is again different, you know. So if you go to developed institutions, it could be much harder. And then if you go to some other donors or, you know, banks, and it could be slightly different, right? So bigger institutions, of course, have boards who guide them in the ESGs and etc. But then you have bigger institutions can afford, you know, entire department which looks into measurements and etc. But for the smaller institution, for the smaller players, obviously learning what to measure and how to measure. And there are so many courses. If you are here in Singapore, you know, there is as I mentioned, AVPN offers a lot of courses which are not that expensive. You know, you have to get your understanding, what you want to measure, where your theory of change starts, and how the theory of change is getting you to the impact that you want to achieve, right? So keeping it simple, knowing who you want to, you know, report to, but also knowing how within your company understand those criteria. They're probably a key in this, you know. But ISOs and many other things, you know, they differ. They don't really have a lot of impact when you talk about SMEs and other smaller initiatives. Yeah? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Let's give a hand for that question and the answer. Thank you so much. So, is there any other questions? Any final? No question? Okay, so we're gonna come to the final segment, which we feel is very important because this is gonna be the precursor to the February 22nd, 23rd event, which is happening in 2025, the International Investors Forum, where we are bringing together powerful investors and change makers who wants to come together and grow together. So we have two important persons that I would love to introduce in the room today. as well. These are our partners who have joined us online. You know, we told her it's going to be in Abu Dhabi, Dubai. She actually ended up in Dubai. Look at that lady. Madam Jennifer, can you please unmute yourself and introduce yourself, the CEO of Auriga Corporate Services.
Yeah, good morning everyone. This is Jennifer Isaac and I represent Auriga Capital Advisors today. We are a completely custom-made advisory firm where we are entering into the capital market, where we're talking about the hand-holding of the SME listings, IPOs, and we're talking about the portfolio management systems, wealth management, where we're talking about the equity and debt. Of course, we're looking out for investors. There are many of them. We're looking out for the projects who could go ahead and pitch. So we are all joining hands together with Go Global along with this, and I'm glad to meet you all online today, and I'm sure you all are going to have a great session today along with Dr. Ziza and of course Peter all the way who's there from US. You all are really going to see the rocking man. Peter, I'm really going to miss you there to meet you personally, but definitely I'm sure the audience is going to be lovely. And of course, there are people online here, yes. A pleasure to meet Victoria, Mr. Ayapadas, and many others. Sorry, I'm just missing out your names. But all the very best to everyone, and hope to see this continue the session online now.
Thank you, and definitely we'll be meeting up in February in Singapore. And thank you so much, Madam Jennifer. And we have also Ms. Ravenna Chen. Ravenna, 在吗? Of course, even if I speak in Chinese, she speaks very good English. Is she there? I brought her in. Okay, she's not in yet. So Ravenna Chan is the one of the management team of Two Star, which is did you all know Tsinghua University Beijing has set up a holding company which grew really big from a startup ecosystem to what it is today. It's a holding company with global presence. She was just now getting online. I'll get her to introduce herself. Right now they have an office in Malaysia and also in IMDA Singapore. Did you know? Singapore, they have an office also. So it's a very important partnership that we have established so that we can introduce a lot of investment portfolios in the region together. So, okay, so while waiting for her later on, I'd like to introduce three of the very important projects that we would love you all to just take a look at when we talk about impacting, investing, conscious capitalism. We're going to get into a little bit of action of how this feels like, because you just got an idea. So for some of you, especially if you are not in the space, it looked like some concept, like something coming out of nowhere. So I'm going to just show you some examples here that we are approaching live, as well as present to you how Go Global has seen conscious capitalism as and how it is taking shape for us as a community from Asia. So I'd like to invite Shraddha from India, the CEO of Travel Bait Business Development, and she's going to share with you about her journey as well in this. Go ahead, Shraddha. Shraddha, you're welcome.
Thank you, Go Global, Dr. Ziza, and all present there. Good morning here in India. I'm based in Bangalore, India, and I'm the co-founder of Travel Baits, as she said. It's a travel technology company, and our vision is to we envision a globally connected India through transformative tourism. So we have currently a valuation of 2.75 million USD, and we are looking to increase it to 10 million USD in the next 3 years with the help and support of Go Global. We've currently partnered with them, and also we have our unique offerings which include a learning platform, and we are looking to put all the UNESCO World Heritage Sites out there in the form of videos for all those who cannot travel to those places can actually learn about those places through video learning. So this is our unique offering, and of course we look for merger and acquisition or exit in the next few years. With Forex, to the investors that invest in our company. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Aziza, for giving me this opportunity to talk on this platform. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let's give her a hand. Yeah, we met her through Startup India, which is an ecosystem partner with us in India. So I'd like to invite Edo from Bichura Energy. Come on stage. He came all the way from Mongolia, and he's really excited to share with us his journey as well.
Hello everyone, and thank you Dr. Aziza for inviting me to this wonderful event. And I'm excited to talk about my business and so a little bit background. So I'm the second generation businessman, so to say. My father started his company in 1990s, and his main business was in construction and trade. And in Mongolia, so the construction and trade is all good, but the main problem was the energy sector. Especially when it comes to the tourism, the energy is a big problem because so Mongolia is very vast, half of the population lives in one city, and also we have many beautiful places with beautiful views in the nature. But it just makes no sense to build transmission lines over hundreds of kilometers just to reach this one spot. So now in the last few years, 5-6 years, we are so we partnered up with some of the most innovative thinkers of the world, and we are trying to offer Mongolians this mobile and renewable solutions. And also, since we have a background in the construction sector, we would like to use our advantages to engage this new market. Because first, we can build everywhere. We can build houses everywhere we want. Second, now thanks to my partners, we can get electricity everywhere we want. So we would like to combine this and also move forward with renewable energies. And so if anyone's interested, I can talk about this for many hours. Just to give you some idea, so there's, for example, one of our partners is called SkySys Power from Germany. And these guys, I haven't seen anything like this before because so instead of big wind turbines, these guys use flying kites to produce electricity. So if anyone played with flying kites when they were kids, then you know that the wind will just drag your kite away from you. And on the ground, if you attached it on some like step or something like that, then you have this motion all the time. And these guys from Germany, they are now harnessing electricity using this motion. And second, so in Mongolia especially, it's very cold. It can get very cold. So in Mongolia, we actually need more heating than electricity. So electricity can be managed. We have these wind turbines, solar panels. Heating is the main problem. How do you get heating? And there, our latest partners are the Port of Night Energy from Finland. These guys came up with sand battery technology. So instead of storing electricity from renewable energies as electricity in lithium-ion batteries or all kinds of batteries, these guys using normal sand to store the electricity as heating. So we can feed the district heating networks or the factories with heating and steam. So so these kind of technologies, from our company's view, we would like to bring these new technologies to our country and so do many different kinds of projects. And so they vary also from the very small projects to the bigger ones, because our goal is to actually transform the whole energy sector in Mongolia. So we are really ambitious, because I do believe that this normal conventional way to produce electricity with these big massive coal-fired power plants, it's not the way to go in Mongolia. And so the traditional way of living in Mongolia was actually very sustainable. In Mongolia, so the nomad culture, if you are a nomad, then you have to actually preserve your environment and so coexist with it. And after that, so we obviously built these coal-fired power plants just like any other country. Now it's a good thing that we are living in a time where this sustainability plays a big role in our life. And I think Mongolia can thrive in this kind of time, because our traditional way of living was actually very sustainable. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. He didn't share that he comes from, he said it's a Steve and Deepak to join in and do a short presentation or introduction.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and to everyone everywhere else, good day. Thank you, Dr. Aziza and Shine Global. It's always a pleasure for me to meet people, of course, Peter, and quite a lot of other people. My name is Deepak. I'm the co-founder and director of Reach ISO. So what do? We help companies, global companies, build their trust and credibility. How we do that? We do that by helping them with their compliance and certifications. So when it comes to compliance and certifications, we help them with their quality management. It could be as simple as implementing an ISO 9001. We have a fair bit, or rather I would say we have developed a very lacking expertise in information security and cyber security. So naturally we help our clients implement data governance, data privacy and data protection. So we work with a lot of different standards, not just ISO. GDPR is one of them, HIPAA, PDP for Singapore, DPDPA, which is out, not yet out in India. We also have that. And we also have a very niche security testing team that does a very in-depth penetration testing and vulnerability assessment. So there are a lot of applications out there that you might be thinking, okay, can I trust it or not? So we're the guys that would test it and say, okay, you can sort of trust it to some extent, right? And who are we working with? We are a 9-year-old company already. We are based out of Bangalore, and we are very popular in the fintech space. So quite a lot of fintech companies know us, and we've helped a lot of companies implement their information security and secure their application and tools as well. Of course, we work with a lot of diverse companies as well, a lot of IT companies, a lot of software development or software service companies. We've also worked with some public sectors, some manufacturing units, some energy sector companies as well. So we are pretty much in every space that you can think of. And just wanted to say, I'm always happy to talk to every one of you, and I would love to get in a discussion with you and see how we can add value to your business or to your company. So that's pretty much it. Thank you so much.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much, and we'll explain more on that. You missed out on the capital market. Okay, no problem. We have a very exciting moment. So Peter had to leave, so we're going to get you to receive a gift from us. Thanks to Cindy from New Zealand. She has done a beautiful art piece, and we're going to gift you that, and Valerma as well. So we found it. Okay, so Cindy, you want to come? Our CFO will do the honor, and then we'll take a picture with Mr. Kao as well. Yes. Hey, sorry, can I? Thank you so much.
So beautiful.
All right, thank you, and thank you so much for spending time with us. Yeah,
thank you.
Please, we'll take together.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, do together.
Yeah.
Take it out of the way.
Why? All right, thank you. And Mr. Carl, let's take a picture together.
So that we can all take it.
Center.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Really an honor for you to be with us today. So I appreciate that.
But are you staying here?
Thank you very much.
I'm based in Singapore, so we are part of Vietnam Embassy in Singapore.
There was a lot of discussion today in IC about opportunities.
Yes, shorter channel for relocate from the other countries to manufacturing. Yeah, that's it.
You should get in touch because he's traveling.
Yeah, I work quite closely with the US trade in Singapore and in Vietnam as well. So
Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. It's been my pleasure to see you all, and I wish you the best of luck in your ventures, personally and professionally. Thank you.
And we'll
Mark.
see you soon in.
Yes.
See you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Yes. So we're kind of coming to the last part of the conversation because we've spoken a lot about consciousness and capital market and all these things has been going on and on. So this is not a theory like a training class. It's a powerful model that Go Global has found. And we are enacting on it, and we're going to share with you. We have some of our shareholders in the room today as well. So to show you a next level of what has been implemented. What's the word? Implemented right now, and we are excited to see what we have done. So for those of us, can you help me with that? Thank you. For those of us, you need to scroll this because something is not working there. So what do we need to know about the conscious capitalism that Go Global has been speaking about? Very much like what Ms. Bularma said, we actually know about the word conscious capitalism because of Whole Food, the co-founder who wrote a book on it. And next one. Yeah. So we have moved from what we level right now, we are in the consciousness age. So what is the difference? If you go to the next slide, you'll get to see that, and I would love you and welcome you to take a screenshot of it because everybody still thinks we are in the information age or even the industrial age. Many of us will accept, okay, we're not in the industrial age. But we have not recognized that we have come to the consciousness age. And you want to see what is the difference between information age and consciousness age. Sorry. Edo, we talking a while? Okay, a bit. Thank you. So we're going to move, we have moved to the consciousness age, which is so crucial for us to recognize that it's no more about change, it's about transformation. Are we in an investment that is transforming lives? Are we in a business that transforms lives and the people and the environment that we are in? So to understand this further, how many of you know this game theory model? Who controls the world? This is a powerful model that you're going to see visible reality around this. The whole world is controlled by how many people? About 150 over people controls the whole world. Can you see the brands? Can you see the brands that's on the screen? So I'm just gonna widen it a bit. Can you see the brands? They are very familiar brands. Banks, non-profits, all controlled by how many people? 150 people. And this is where all the stakeholders come together to make this happen. And okay, let's forget about the world. Look at these brands. Who controls 10 brands, companies controlling thousands of brands around the world? This is a strategy, my friends. This is a strategy that has worked for people in the world. Now that bringing back home, next one. Bringing back home, I just want you all to recognize that there's this thing called limitless possibilities when we bring together conscious capitalism. And I'm going to show you a powerful example of it that never has been shared before for Singaporeans because that's where we sit on the work of Singapore. And of course, you can also take a screenshot. We have our definition of how conscious capitalism framework works. Next one. So we're going to play this video. You can just see if you can play that video. This video. Okay, just give me 2 minutes. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm going to get to that in a bit. So do you all know Temasek Holdings? Who owns Temasek Holdings? Can you say that properly? Who owns Temasek Holdings? Ministry of Finance Singapore. Right, to be exact. You see, our Singaporean goes, oh. Ministry of Finance Singapore owns, is a state-owned company. If I were to give you a demonstration of conscious capitalism, I want you all to go into Temasek Holdings. Can you go to the website? I think that's the best way to show you. I want to show you the video because it'll show you everything a conscious capitalism framework has to have. We're talking about governance, we're talking about business model innovation, we're talking about taking care of stakeholders and everything else, including a vision of 50 years. So just give you an insight, Temasek Holding owns what companies? I show you the world, 150 people owning everything in the world, but let's look at Singapore. What does Temasek Holding owns? Come on, shout out. Singapore Bank, okay. DBS, what else?
Singapore, Telecom.
Telecom, what else? Singtel, retail malls, example? Capital Land, what else? All the malls, right? Real estate, what else? Supermarkets, yeah, NTUC, SMRT. We can go on and on and on, right? Even this place we are staying in, the reality. So we are looking at a country that literally runs like a company. And we're looking at a model that if you are committed to a community that can create its own ecosystem, it does not need the capital market, stock market to be directly influencing its status. We're not dependent on the stock market to determine us. Do you get that? So the bigger we are able to come together in our business models, the clearer we can get with our capital market conversations, everything that we're talking about today. So I just, can you go back to the page just now? I think we need to exit it. Go back to the Canva. Is it back there? Yeah, correct. Can you share that? So I just wanted to, do you all get the picture of capital? Nobody talks about Temasek the way that we are speaking about when it comes to conscious capitalism, because there's a whole, next time we'll have a separate session that we can go in as an investor, as an entrepreneur, how you can leverage on this concept. It's called the game theory model. Left pocket to right pocket. Do you get that? You know, during, when I was in 1990, when I was 20 years old, 30 years ago, we were all told that we're going to buy Singtel shares for you, Singapore Telecom shares for you, but you don't have to take out your money. We will take it from your CPF that we have put into the bank. So what they did, they took our money, which then was not possible to be taken out by cash because CPF money never comes out unless you go into retirement or you're gone, then the money can come out. But they took that money and invested in what? Singtel shares. They gave us shares, which otherwise cannot be monetized. Did they do good for us? Did the government do good for us? Yes, we got shares, which means we all became investors indirectly, and we got what? Dividends from the country's telecommunication. For those of us who still hold the shares, still have dividends. For those who did not hold the shares, actually bought it out and cashed out their money. There is what we call wealth distribution happening at various levels in the country. How many of you got ka-ching into your bank account last week? Whatever the amount, right? Because just to let you know, ka-ching means the government actually does cash deposits into our company, our individuals, citizens, whatever name you want to call it, rebate, cash, there is wealth distribution happening. This is the power of what conscious capitalism is capable of. Now that being said, this is not only about Singapore. For those of you who do not know Tata's group, it really blew my mind when I was speaking to the Zambia office, tourism board. Normally we go to any partners now in the tourism sector, we ask them, who are your listed companies in your country? Let's talk to them, because that's where we can imbibe a lot of this top-down approach. We don't do bottom-up. You know the difference, we talked about it. So top-down approach. Let's look at the listed company. It really shocked me when I saw Taj Hotel Group in Zambia listing, exchange listing. Who is Taj? Part of Tata's group. Y'all heard of the Tata's group? Anyone who never heard of it? This is going to be good news for you, because you're seeing another powerful conscious capitalism in action. They are bigger than Singapore Temasek Holdings. They are the nation builder of India. For your information, Tata's group, or the holding company, is not owned by a listed company. It is a trust. 60% of the trust money goes to nation building in India. And all the companies that you heard of, Tata's Consultancy, Tata Steel, so the holding company doesn't get listed, all the groups get listed. Such a powerful game. Such a powerful game. I'm telling you this not to just give you idea and new information, but what can you do with the networks that you have, the communities that you are building together? That's the question. Of course, my latest new kid on the block that I speak about is the Sunway Group in Malaysia. So y'all can Google that. They're doing some amazing work from Malaysia as well, because they have the whole ecosystem being built, be it hotels, hospitals, and everything. So for Go Global, I just want to give you a run-up that we have moved. All these while we have been a consultant, and you can see we are very training mode. Apologies for those who feel like, hey, why is she sitting down here and teaching me? This is not about teaching you, it's a powerful sharing that all these years, you heard Doria speak, we have come to a space of not just consulting and just teaching people the work, we have run it ourselves in our own ways. All the mistakes we did in learning to become compliant, to be IPO ready, it's been our journey. Last year, or rather this year, we stepped into declaring for collaborative IPO. And I'm going to share with you how this works for us, because collaborative IPO takes at least 24 months of planning. And we are looking at existing SMEs that wants to join hand with us. We're not looking for a group, just a couple of them that will join hands with us in the travel, tourism, hospitality sector. And with that, we have also delved into, right now we're sitting on it, next year going into tourism development as well. So there's a whole ecosystem we're speaking about in this journey. So, next one. Yeah. So we have a very tenacious, audacious vision of bringing together 100,000 SMEs globally, out of which we want to invest and become partner. Remember the whole game theory? Yeah. We want to have 100 companies that works with us, invested with us, and invested by us in the travel, tourism, hospitality sector. And that's where the conscious capitalism and the tourism industry works for us, because, yeah, next we cover 17 ESG, SDG goals, and this is our business model. We do have a membership, like what I was mentioning earlier on. Olin just now was speaking about. We are licensing our membership as well, and we have, of course, May join us as our operations consultant who will be handling the licensed partners. So the membership and the education is the first part, and then we get into solutions. All the partners in the room, whatever solutions you are providing, that's where we come in and support us, right? And finally, we are looking at the equity that we are getting into with companies that we really admire. Currently, we have 7 portfolios. 7, that means out of the 100, 7 is in the space, of course, like Vietnam Go with Vietnam, and then we have India and Singapore, Malaysia as well. So some of the events we've already done online and offline. And yeah, next one. Some programs locally and globally. We have started making massive connections in the region and globally for the tourism sector and the invest arm of various countries. So this is where we have started narrowing in and focusing on, and some of the bodies strategically in the space. So conscious tourism is our initiative. What we are doing currently, we are going to the countries. Currently, we have 2 specific cities in the making, and we are open to speaking to others. Tourism boards and invest arms of the cities. We go in, we look at how the entrepreneurs are functioning. Are they investable and bankable? Remember the visits we made to Vietnam. We asked for SMEs. Can we invest in you, but is your business ready? Can we make it investable? And how can we increase the capital market of the country? Can we bring in more funds? And how can we achieve that? You know, one of the conversations we've been having with a lot of countries, and Singapore, I would say, I'm going to use a very strong word because we're Singapore. We made a mistake of one thing, which also is as a learning experience for others, is we depended on international people bringing in their money and global brands bringing in their money and making locals, because we're a very small country, locals become employees. There is no entrepreneurial spirit. Now we are struggling with that. So here in the new countries and the developing countries, we are saying, let's create local entrepreneurs to become really big, that they provide their own entrepreneurs, rather than international people pumping in all the money and making the country rich, but making the citizens become employees, not the business owners. So this is what we are doing. No, okay, can. So we're actually looking at, next one, Ken. So what we do, we go in and identify projects, especially at the exchange listing level. So we go and speak to the stock markets, and probably Mr. Kao, this could be something we can be very strategic about in our conversation next. Looking at the stock market companies, choosing who we want to work with, and then structure them for funding. So this is something that we are doing, and then present them to investors in our network. And remember, we are not a middleman. Ayapaji just now mentioned, we are not just a connector. We become the partner for the project to be invested and executed locally, because we're talking about the travel, tourism, hospitality sector. So in this way, we are really excited to build the complete ecosystem. We have our own game. Like what Doria said, we have no competition because nobody will have the mind to think about this or even the energy to work on it, because we are very fussy in the way that we choose our clients, or we're very strategic in the way we choose our partners. We are looking at sustainability projects, we're talking about eco-friendly projects, we're talking about halal, veganism projects, which brings all the ecosystem players together. So we are very in our own world of conscious tourism. So this is where we are, and of course I put in Tamil Nadu as one of our places, Kanyakumari, and of course our close to our heart, the immediate execution is actually happening in Sabah, East Malaysia. And that's going to be one place that we are inviting everybody to join us in February. We are having a wonderful event there. Sabah, how many of you know Sabah, East Malaysia? Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic spot for growth, for tourism, and it's really something that's upcoming from the east side of Malaysia. And then Kanyakumari is the southern tip of India, where the 3 seas meet. Is a powerful place to operate from. So these are projects we have started working towards, and in Sabah we have 45 acres of land already pledged through our shareholder who's invested in Singapore. So we are putting together that ecosystem project as well. And of course, we are speaking to the local tourism and invest arms of the country to identify more projects. So we have the complete framework for that. Yeah. So in our journey in the next 5 years, we are raising 600 million. We have already declared to Sabah $100 million to be invested in the next 24 months. And that means we look for projects there to get invested in. And in the next 5 years, this will be before. We would have already done our collaborative IPO before that. And then raising funds through the capital market for our follow-up investments. So collaborative IPO and acquisition is on the table, and tourism development. We're looking forward to Long An province. I have to say that was one of the first places we located in Vietnam, but we need a local team. We need vibrant, audacious, you know, what's that word? That aggressive, but in a beautiful, aggressive way to move it with us in the country. If without that, we can't step in. This is what I've learned in a hard way. Why Sabah is taking a lead? Because we have powerful team players, including the convention center CEO, who is joint venture with us and moving it very smoothly for Sabah. So that's why I'm able to even say $100 million. We already know, we're confident of building the project there and bringing the funds in. So with that, that's our version of conscious capitalism. We're putting into action, and we have shareholders in Singapore, which is the holding company, Shine Go Global, with global network of investors already. You know, we are in Accra. You can always look us up with who are the shareholders in our network globally. And thanks to Victoria, for her, we are her legacy plan. So she's also one of our shareholders in Singapore. So with that, you want to take a screenshot of this. These are our upcoming events that you can participate, be it to grow your business or to seek investments. We, in Go Global, we represent, like when myself or Aipachi, we speak on conscious capitalism for the industry, whereas we have global network of partners and mentors who speak on various topics as well. So of course, welcome everybody to join hands with us there. So I want to leave you with a message, and we're going to definitely continue this conversation after the break, while we have lunch, for February 22nd, 23rd. What can you contribute, not to Go Global, to this mission of conscious capitalism from Singapore? And what are the projects that you can bring in to raise funds with us? Because it's not only Shine Go Global's tourism project. What other projects do you want to bring in and raise funds together? And what are your projects in hand that can be structured for next level of growth? That's what we want to ask you. So this is a message we always leave people with, because this encompasses conscious capitalism. When every one of us wake up in the morning to ask ourselves, how do I make the world work 100% of the time for 100% of humanity without any ecological damage or disadvantage to anyone in the shortest time possible, through spontaneous cooperation? This is the most powerful word. We have invited you today to ask you to explore the spontaneous cooperation that's available for humanity. That we can really come together and say, let's do this together and let's make humanity work for everyone. So we really want to thank everybody who joined hand with us, and February 22nd, 23rd, mark your dates. We want more speakers. We want more conscious speakers coming to us, investors coming in to speak in the event, and also have more interactive sessions, because today's crowd is a mix of partners and guests, so we're keeping it a bit loose, but we want to be very strategic. Later on, during the lunchtime, we're going to ask you, like, who's going to be part of the committee, who's going to move it with us, who's going to bring in, Mongolian delegates, maybe bring in and your projects to be represented in the. I'm looking forward to Edo having his project represented and raise funds through this network as well. So looking forward to that. Anyone have anything else to add on? Thank you so much. Victoria, you want to say anything? Is Ravenna there already? Victoria, is she there? Oh, it's okay. Okay.
Thank you so much for this interesting session, for your attention, and I hope I can see everyone on our February event, because a lot of information today, and I think a lot of questions we discussed today. This is a very amazing. This is a very interesting.
Thank you so much, dear. When we share ours, we want you to create your own ecosystem, like what Blue Santos is doing. They are creating their own ecosystem. Every country, every individual can create your own ecosystem of game theory model, and we want to see how we can support each other with as well. Okay, great. If there's no question, we want to say thank you. We're going to break. We're going to go off for lunch and more discussions. And y'all please go and have your lunch. Thank you everyone for joining us, and thanks to everybody watching live as well as on Zoom and here. We're going to close the session right now officially. Look forward to catching up with you on February 22nd, 23rd in Singapore International Investors Forum. Thank you. Thank you everybody.